My name is Cordelia Kate, and today I want to show you how to stop scrambling every time a new client signs up. If you are sick and tired of piecing together emails and threads and trying to remember what you emailed the last client that signed up and all the bits that you need to do, the T's and C's and the things that will get this client settled into working with you, then you are in the right place. By the end of this session, you're going to have a simple, repeatable onboarding system in GoHighLevel that feels human, keeps clients confident, and saves you hours without any extra effort. And I'm going to show you how to create more leverage as well, because a lot of people think that onboarding just means a welcome email. That's not right. I'm going to show you how to create some leverageable touch points that are going to support you when it comes to getting clients to continue working with you, to upsell, and also create that really awesome first impression that makes them feel like, oh my God, that was a really professional onboarding process. What having a really good client onboarding system does is it enables you to have slicker sales calls, because when you get into the closing part of your sales conversations, you just roll into the onboarding process, which is really slick because you know what that next step is. And when you go to do a presumed close, because you think, oh, this person seems like they might be in, you can just start onboarding them by getting them booked in for their first call, or, saying you're going to send them the bits and pieces that you've got going on. Another benefit is that once you systemize things, you can then look back and go, how do I improve this system? How do I make it better? You just can't do that well if it's chaos. I have been the person that has loads of sales calls, is booking people in and getting clients, and woohoo, that's all great. But every single time I'm going to the previous person I onboarded, copying their welcome email, pasting it into a new email, going and finding the terms and conditions, refiring it up to send out, manually creating tasks in my diary to reach out to this person to get them booked in for X, and just going through this manual process every single time. There's nothing wrong with that, apart from it causes stress. So this is going to enable you to systemize, which will be great, and then improve that system, which will be even better. Because when you have a good onboarding system, not only does it help you with your sales, but it helps you with your first impressions. Your clients feel looked after from the word go. The worst thing you can do is take someone's payment and then not email them or message them for 2 or 3 days. Why? Because they're going to think they just got scammed. Don't you normally get an email confirmation when you buy something? Maybe the payment didn't go through. Go and check. Maybe we'll then email and be like, haven't had an email to confirm that I received it. Even though that person may be booked in, you still want that confirmation, because if you leave space for even a tiny bit of doubt, you're creating your relationship with your new client on the foot of suspicion. So we want to start on the front foot by making them feel reassured. And that's going to be instant welcome email. And that only can happen if it's systemized or you've got all the time in the world. So that is going to enable you to give people a really good onboarding process that creates trust, rather than, oh shit, like I've got buyer's remorse now. Should I have bought that thing? I don't know. But then we want to be building a customer journey with this onboarding system so that we can think about not just their first impression, but then we want to step back and think, okay, well, how can I improve this journey? Are there any touch points I can implement, sort of extra pieces that would be like a review call here or a check-in session over there, that would be baked into the process that would improve their journey and would also probably result in continuation of them working with me or upgrade to the next level. Okay, so we want to be thinking with retention in mind and baking that into the onboarding right from the off. So what we're going to do is we are going to build that system today. I'm going to walk you through, we're going to map one out together. We're going to pretend we are a coach with a coaching program, but this is applicable for any product. If you're a coach, consultant, mentor, tutor, trainer, if you are selling a service that is going to be delivered over time, this is going to be really helpful for you. If you're just delivering a product, it's still going to be helpful for you, because you want to think about, how do I enhance that process so it's not just, here you go, transactional, over and done with, finished. And I'm going to just open up a whiteboard to start with, and we're going to map out a customer journey first, and then we're going to go to GoHighLevel and we're going to build this out. Now, if you haven't got GoHighLevel, then this is going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour of how to create it. Now, GoHighLevel is an all-in-one solution for your email, your calendar, your landing pages, thank you pages. It's not perfect, but it does all the things and it's good. And that is really important for being able to pick and choose your SMTP and things like that. So you want to go under someone, if you do go under someone, who allows you to have a bit of control and also allows you to move to your own account one day. If you want to take all your stuff with you, you can. But yeah, it's a whole conversation to be had on that, but just my 2 cents if that's helpful. Okay, so coaching's hat on right now, and we've got our product just so that we've got kind of an idea of. So as I said, this is applicable for people that aren't coaches as well, but we're going to use coaching as an example here. So we're coach, and we've got a nice bang tidy 3-month one-to-one program, and we have like weekly one-to-one sessions, a big planning session in terms of like what we're going to do over the 3 months, weekly progress sessions. Now, what we want to do then is we want to kind of map this out. So we have, let's get a shape. So first things first then is that we have the sales call. This is onboarding, right? From the sales call that you have into them being like in your coaching program working with you. How do we get them onboarded effectively? So you want to think about what are all the things that I need to get done. Have your little admin list. So the things that are probably on that admin list are things like we've got the first call, we've got the invoice or payment, either way, we can bake that in. Then we have maybe T's and C's / contract. Maybe there's an intake form. If you're a coach and you're like me, you're a business coach and you need stuff like people's website links, their social media link, what their goals are, what they want to achieve, what they feel is holding them back, all those kind of things that just help you get a good vision for where it is that they're at. So that on that first call, you haven't got to go through all of that. You're on the front foot getting started. And then welcome email. Let's go first call booked in. And so you can see already that there are a lot of pieces in that admin list of things that you need to do and get set up for this client to get started working with you. And that is quite a chunk of stuff. And so if you don't have a system created, every single time you bring someone on, you're scrabbling to find all these things and recreate them or repurpose them for the next person. So this system is going to take that headache out. And then from there, on the sales call, I would do these 2 things. Booked in for first call. In this instance, assume that your preferred method is that you send an invoice rather than take payment over the phone. So sales call booked in for first call with you. And then what else have we got on this list? We'll probably send the invoice afterwards. T's and C's, intake form, and welcome email will send afterwards. And so when you're getting that person booked in for one of those sessions, we know that that's a presumed close. That means they're in. So anyway, sales call, booked in for that first call. And then you say to them on the call, I'm going to now send you list of this stuff here. For your invoice, T's and C's, a form so that when we start our first session, I'm on the front foot. I've got everything I need for us to just get stuck in. And I'm also going to send you a welcome email. There's been a lot of information shared on this call here. I'm going to send you the welcome email. So they're now waiting for me to get them that information. Then it's a case of basically setting up a system that fires those out. So we're going to use GoHighLevel to send onboarding stuff. That's all going to just be sent automatically in GoHighLevel. However, when it comes to the invoices, I hate GoHighLevel invoices. I use Stripe invoices because I feel like they just look so much slicker and so much more trustworthy. Even though the GoHighLevel, it's secure and it is trustworthy, but the problem with them is that they just don't look like they are. So I think you can, make them look a lot better, but I'm just like, for what purpose? Let's just use Stripe. But we're going to get GoHighLevel to send onboarding is the T's and C's, contract, the intake form, and the welcome email. And in fact, the welcome email will contain the link to the intake form, and then the T's and C's contract will be separate. So we're going to set that up on GoHighLevel in a minute. So we're now mapping out a bit of our customer journey. They're going to have their first call. That first call could be a planning session if that's part of your process. That first call is the beefy one, where you map everything out. You have the big planning session where it all kind of gets put down on paper in terms of what it is that you're going to do. I have a team that enables me to bake other things into my process. And I really recommend one of the things that you invest in when you do start building out a team is someone that helps you look after your clients. So Jennifer on our team, and her role is head of client happiness. And one of the things that I do is, instead of her being booked straight in for her first call, so the person gets booked in for their onboarding call with Jennifer. So that's a really nice thing. Okay, so first call planning, and then we go into second call. Now, you might have a process where it's the same time every week for these calls. And so on the first call planning, you might map calls for the future, or you might do that as you go. With my clients, we do it as we go. They have unlimited calls and they just book in as and when they're ready to. Either way, let's zoom out and let's think about this. So we've got month 1. Let's now put in month 2, and then we've got month 3. And then we want to think about end of program or graduation. What are you going to do here that enables the potential kind of upsell? The worst thing you can do is just leave that wide open so that you get to it and you're like, well, we're kind of at the end of our 3 months together now. It's been a great journey, hasn't it? What would you like to do moving forwards, right? We want to bake that conversation in already from the beginning. They're expecting it. You're expecting it. It's booked in, maybe. So in our system, Jennifer will reach out 2 weeks or maybe a month before their end date. And she'll say, hey, it's time to get you booked in for your next steps call. And the purpose of that call is for me to go over everything that they've done so far and make them a continuation plan moving forwards. And of course, then there's an upsell opportunity there, because if I feel I can support that person to implement the continuation plan and we can continue working together, I will say on that call and I will offer them their options. And so I used to give them 3 options. Option 1, continue. Option 2, move on to the lower kind of tier and just be in the membership. Or option 3, what happens if you leave altogether? So I would give them all the options, and then that would enable them to then make a decision of what it is that they wanted to do. Now, bear in mind, this call is 2 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the end of the program. So we would just have a graduate. So let's call it a next steps call. And let's say 2 to 3 weeks. 4 is too much. 2 to 3 weeks before end. And then you've kind of got your continuation decision call where you jump on with them and you're like, cool, well, we're now at the end of the program together. This is what we've mapped out are your next steps. I already gave you the options as to what the continuation options were in terms of implementing those next steps with us. You've got continue on the coaching, you've got move down to membership and don't get the support anymore, and you've got leave altogether. Which of the 3 do you want to do? Now, look, strategically, we can word that. But the point is that this is the process that you're then taking them through in terms of the customer journey. And then from there, it's going to be a case of they either leave or they get re-onboarded. This is really important because just because they've already in and they've already bought doesn't mean you don't want to take them through that really awesome special process again of getting them, maybe book them back in for a call with Jennifer to like re-onboard them and remind them of all the good stuff they've got access to, or like get them booked in for a new planning session where we're going to go over the new plan in detail, get them re-onboarded so they feel like they're going to get that experience again rather than just continue with what you're already doing. Make it feel a bit special. Yeah. So then we can take a step back and go, all right, well, what else could we do? Make it a better experience, but also increase the chances of them wanting to stay, of them talking about how great their experience is. One thing that you can do and bake in here, and this does come down to profitability, affordability, and all the rest of it. In my private consultancy, I do this. So you have an address in the form and then a client welcome gift. So they get something in the post, but I will get something based on that client and who they are, maybe personal development books. I've done hampers in the past where I do stationery and my favorite book, bits and pieces that you can send out in terms of your own merch. Another thing you could do is you could find out when that person's birthday is, and you could have like a part of the onboarding process is that you have some chocolate from Amazon that is going to be delivered on that date for that person's birthday. Could you send a postcard that just says, I'm so happy that you have joined this program and I'm really excited to be working with you. Now, this is what usually happens with a coaching program is that you have month 2 and month 3, it's just continuing. So maybe we could put here midway check-in session. So if you have a Jennifer, head of client happiness, that we can set up a task that pings her in GoHighLevel to remind her to get that booked in, or just an auto email. Hey, it's time to book in for your midway review. Here's the link, get booked in. Looking forward to seeing you. Okay, so what we're going to do then, we're going to go into the devil's lair. So let's go to automation. So this is all going to happen in automations. And we're going to hit create workflow, start from scratch, because we do not need a template for this. And we're going to give it a name to start off with so we can find it again. New coaching onboarding. Okay, so the trigger is the thing that's going to cause this to go off. I like to leave this trigger blank. As part of the onboarding process, what I like to do is just go and manually drop them in to this automation. I would just, in the person's name, if you scroll down, you can see on the left-hand side, there is automations, and you can hit the plus button and add them into an automation. What I don't want to do is add a trigger here, then forget what the trigger was and that they get triggered if I tag them with something and then go, oh, we've got 6 clients that haven't got the tag that they need, and then go tag them all and forget that it triggers this onboarding process and gets them emails firing at them and tasks being created and all the rest of it. So just leave the trigger blank and add people in manually, unless you can be super confident about that, and then that's your prerogative. There's a few things that are going to happen here in succession. Let's start with send an email. And from name, I have it stored in a custom value, but it's just Cordelia and Caroline. From email is a team at Rebellious Business, but I just use custom values just to make sure that it's the same. I'm going to use a smart builder, but for this example, we're just going to put welcome email. And then what we can do, we need to make sure we have a subject line, and then we're going to save that action so that we can actually rename it so that we can see what it is, welcome email. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tag this person, and the tag I'm going to use is client coaching, save action. And I'm going to rename that so I can see what I'm tagging them with from the outside. What that's going to do is it's going to allow me to segment so that I can include or exclude all of my clients in when I'm sending broadcasts or, doing things elsewhere. But if I've got them all tagged, that's really helpful. So coming back to whiteboard here, and then we also have the invoice, which I am going to do manually via Stripe. Now the intake form, okay, so we're going to go to sites and then surveys and to a builder, and we're going to add a survey, start from scratch. You're going to essentially in this survey add any details that you need. Now, I like to do one thing per page. So you can add this plus button here and add a new page. So I'll probably do actually is delete that and start with some text. So if I come down here, so this single line text here is actually just going to ask them to input text. We don't want that. What we want is just text on its own. I'm going to edit this and be like, welcome. I've just got a few questions to ask you so we can hit the ground running on our first call. Okay. And then here, do not forget to put name. Like, you do need to know who it is. By the way, little tip for you with these items. So if we go to the settings of this, you can see on this one, because it's a predefined one in terms of this already exists in the system, all of these inputs are going to become custom fields inside your GoHighLevel. So right now you can see that the query key is full_name. And you can see that the placeholder is full name, and you can change the label of it and the placeholder. Probably get rid of that because we don't need it written twice, and probably just change that to name. Then in here, we're going to put email. But when we move down to ask some actual questions, this is going to become important because it's just going to give us some random code. So the text box, the single line or multi-line, I'd say this one. The query key and the label is how it shows up here, but also in the submissions box and also on that customer's profile in GoHighLevel. It's going to have these boxes down the left-hand side, and it's going to show what they've filled in and answered. And so if it's single line _342VV, you are not going to remember what you asked them. You're not going to remember when they say, I like ponies because they're my favorite animal. You can be like, what's the context of this answer? It makes no sense to me. So we want to make sure that we put the label on there. So this could be, what is your website link? If you don't have one, don't worry, just say none. Now, this is not going to automatically change. Let's click on that settings box. So the query key is just how you're going to use this and find it elsewhere in GoHighLevel. And so it's nice to just have this as something recognizable. So we could just put website link. So you want to think about what are the questions that I need to ask that are going to let me prepare for this first session. And you don't really need to have anything more than what you're going to prepare. So let's just pretend that we're happy with that. We've asked everything that we need. The only other thing that we need to sort out is settings, and then on submit. Once someone has submitted, what do you want it to happen? Do you want to just leave a message? Well, it's not going to be, we appreciate your feedback. So just make sure you change that for something like, oh, amazing, this really helps. Can't wait to get started. Yeah. And then that's what they're going to see once they press submit. You might want to redirect them to watch a video or to book a call with you on your calendar link or something. But, in this instance, in this process, we don't need to do anything like that. So we're going to change this from survey 15 to onboarding dummy survey. Press save. And then if we come into integrate, and we can share the link of it here, and then we come back into the welcome email, we can then edit the email. Here is the questions I'd love you to answer, and then just right click here and just hyperlink that with the survey. Unfortunately, there's no way of you making that survey link look prettier. You have to either embed it onto a page and then use that page link if you need to display the link. But if you don't need to display the link and you can hyperlink it, which we can in this instance, then it's fine. We just put it behind there. Okay, so let's come back to our plan that we've already mapped out. Welcome email and the intake form sorted. Next, we need the terms and conditions to fire out. Send documents and contracts is going to be the next action that we need from Cordelia Kate. The template, let's use Caroline's T's and C's for this example, send directly, and the channel is going to be email and SMS, I would prefer. Now, the reason why I can select that is because, let's go back here, inside payments and then documents and contracts, I have one set up. And to set a new one up, you just basically upload an existing PDF, and then you upload a PDF, and then a bit like HelloSign, you just choose where you want people to sign it, and then it's saved here, and then you can select it inside your automation. So we're going to send that document and that contract. You can also reference it in the welcome email, and you could probably link directly to it, but I'm not going to make this too complicated. I'm just going to say you will receive in another email, blah. Okay, so then the next thing that I will do, come back and have a look at this. We've got month 2, we're going to do that midway check-in session. The next thing we want to do is wait, and we want to wait 6 weeks. No, okay, that would have been, right, we're going to wait 42 days. Right, save actions. That's now a 6-week wait stop. Let's go wait 6 weeks. Advanced window, Monday to Friday, and it can be exact time, 8 a.m. And that's going to send this out at 8 a.m. And then we're going to have an email. In fact, let's just copy the other email, copy action, paste action. And this email is going to be book your midway call. And actually as well, just to be, let's wait 5 weeks because we want that to happen halfway through. So we don't want it to send halfway. So let's go 5 weeks and we take off 7. So that's 35. Okay. Book your midway call email, and that's going to book them in for that. Now, practically, like what we also would do if you have a Jennifer is to actually have a 2-week wait and then get Jennifer to call to check in. But if it's just you on your own, obviously you're going to be having the calls with those people anyway. We've got the next steps call 2 to 3 weeks before. We're going to then wait another 5 weeks probably, and then have an email goes out, which is book your next steps call. Another thing that we can do as well that just makes this really nice to manage is we can build out a pipeline. Let's go in here. And pipelines are actually meant for sales calls so that you can manage the calls that you're having. So you have like a call book, decision made, and you move them through this journey. As an example, let me just show you the package creation pipeline that we have created here. You create all of these separate steps that you can then automate inside the workflow. So for instance, we have a waiting onboarding call, and then we have package creation in progress. So for this example, we would have, so they've been onboarded, they're waiting their first call, and then coaching in progress, and then awaiting Jennifer to check in with starting challenges. We could have a waiting, as soon as that 5-week thing comes, we have it automated so that it moves them into that space on the pipeline. And then we do that all the way through. So we have different clients that are in different stages. And you want to think about your stages of working with you. in this specific program, we have different stages based on what we've done with that client and what they're currently doing. So you would create a pipeline and just create a new one. Here we go, dummy. Let's open this one. So if we go to opportunities and then go to dummy, there we go. So now when you have a person in here, if I search for Cordelia Kate and just pop her in that opportunity, I can add me to an automation here. And then I can also add myself to the opportunity here. So what we would do is we would bake it into this process. So we go plus button and then we search for create opportunity. And the pipeline we're looking for is dummy. And then you can have different fields that you update within your pipeline as well. But just in terms of having them in the different stages, let's get rid of that and press save. And so that's now going to create that opportunity. So if I hit save on this workflow now, and we can test it, hopefully, yeah, that's saved. Woohoo! Create opportunity. Right, let's come back to me. Put me in that workflow. New coaching onboarding. There we go. Add. Cordelia has been added. You can see that I received the test welcome email and an opportunity has been created and an email with the T's and C's has been sent to me as well. So if I look at the opportunity, it's this information here. That telephone number is wrong, so don't even try it. But if we go into opportunities, we're in dummy, you can see that this person is now here under new lead. So what we can do is actually change these pipeline of so that it says instead of new lead, it says awaiting first call. Oh, down bottom right, coaching in progress. Due next steps. Cool. Let's hit save. Opportunities are now there like that. So then if we come back into here, we've got create opportunity, but then we've got wait 5 weeks. Then we can update opportunity, and the opportunity, what we're going to update is we're going to move them to a different stage. Pipeline stage. We have to choose the pipeline. Okay, pipeline. Pipeline is dummy. Pipeline stage is, let's just pretend it's that one. Then what's going to happen is that person is going to then, after 5 weeks, get moved into that place automatically in the opportunity board. So when you come and have a look at your opportunity board, you can see where everybody is. You can see who's awaiting their first call. You can see who is awaiting that next steps call, etc. And it just enables you to do that without having to move everybody automatically. You can just see where everyone is. And of course, you can imagine how you can actually use that for sales calls and helping managing your sales call process and setting up an automation like this that moves people through the stages in that opportunity. Another thing that we might do here as well after 5 weeks when they get moved into that opportunity is we might create a task, assign that task to reach out to, and then we're going to add this person's name, contact, first name, reach out to first name and remind them to book in for their midway review. You're going to assign that to myself and it can be due now because it's going to happen after 5 weeks. Save action. Just copy that and paste it there. Save action. Save. And so after they get onboarded, they're going to sit here and they're going to wait 5 weeks. And then after 5 weeks is gone, it's going to create that task. It's going to update the opportunity and move them in that pipeline. And it's going to email them. Another thing you can do as well, if you don't check, because I'm bad at checking my tasks. Jennifer manages tasks. One thing that's helpful for me is send an email, but internal. Instead of sending it to them, you send it to yourself. There's loads of different things that you can do down here. But there we have it. And then, the real key is that process towards the end, getting people booked in for that next steps call, because if you can pre-outline that process, what's going to happen is you're going to find you have a process that is built with retention in mind. We have definitely had situations where it has just drifted, and we've had a client that should have been offboarded 4 months ago and they just haven't, because there's no system in place. So if you have it all mapped out like this, it just makes it so much easier for you to implement. That's all from me. I'm Cordelia Kate. I look forward to seeing you live next Tuesday at 11 a.m. or inside the Strategy Lab. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.